So let's talk about containers. They've totally changed the game for how we build software. I mean, they're agile, they're portable, they're incredibly powerful. But, there's always a catch. And the catch is going from just a few containers to thousands of them, well, that can turn into a massive operational headache fast. And that leads us to the big question, the one we're really digging into here. What if you could get that single, consistent way to manage all your containers, no matter where they actually live? This very idea is the whole reason the Amazon EKS family even exists. Okay, so before we can really appreciate why the solution is so cool, we've got to properly understand the problem it's solving. And it really all starts with just how successful containers have become. I mean, spinning up one container, that's easy, but making sure thousands of them are all working together, talking to each other securely, scaling up or down when they need to, and, this is a big one, recovering when something breaks, that is a whole different ballgame. I absolutely love this analogy because it just clicks. Without a conductor, an orchestra is just a bunch of random noise. And in the container world, that conductor is what we call an orchestrator. Its job is to take all that potential chaos and turn it into one perfectly synchronized application. Luckily for all of us, the entire industry has pretty much rallied around one standard conductor to lead this container orchestra. And I'm sure you've heard of it, it's Kubernetes. And yeah, Kubernetes is the king for a reason. It is incredibly powerful. But all of that power comes with its own complexity. Just managing the Kubernetes control plane itself, the brain of the whole operation that's making all the decisions, that can be a full-time job for a whole team of people. This is exactly where Amazon Web Services comes into the picture. They've built a managed service that's designed to take all that heavy lifting of running Kubernetes right off your plate. Let's go back to that orchestra analogy. If Kubernetes is our conductor, then you can think of Amazon EKS as the whole world-class concert hall. It provides the stage, the lights, the perfect acoustics, everything the conductor needs to put on an amazing show, without ever having to worry about, building the venue from scratch. You just get to focus on your music, or in this case, your applications. Now, here's something you might not realize. EKS isn't just one thing. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. It's actually a whole family of services, all designed to run Kubernetes across a whole spectrum of different environments. So check this out. The whole EKS family sits on this spectrum. Way over on the left, you've got Amazon EKS in the cloud, where AWS handles pretty much everything. But as you move to the right, you go through options like Outposts and all the way over to EKS Anywhere, and more of the responsibility for the hardware and the management shifts over to you, the customer. Okay, this table really lays it all out. As you move from left to right, from standard EKS over to EKS Anywhere, you can see how the responsibility for things like hardware, location, and even the control plane itself shifts from AWS over to you. And look at that last row, connectivity, that's a really important one. Options like EKS Anywhere can run completely disconnected from the cloud. Now, this probably has you wondering, in a world where everyone's talking cloud first, why on earth would you ever want or need to run Kubernetes on your own infrastructure? Well, it turns out there are some very, very compelling reasons. These right here are the big drivers. We're talking about things like strict data residency laws, applications that need to be lightning fast with split-second response times, or, hey, maybe just making the most of a data center you already own. Let's dive into a couple of these. Data sovereignty? This is a huge one. For a lot of global companies, it's not even a choice, it's the law. If regulations say your customer's data absolutely cannot leave a certain country, and AWS doesn't happen to have a data center there, you've got to have a solution that lets you run on premises, but still use all those same great cloud-native tools. And this map really puts it into perspective. AWS has this incredible global footprint. It's pretty much everywhere, but you can also see there are still some gaps. EKS Anywhere is designed specifically to fill those gaps, giving you that consistent AWS experience right where you need it to be to meet those residency rules. And what about low latency? I mean, think about something like real-time multiplayer gaming, high-frequency stock trading, or even robotic surgery. In those situations, the speed of light is a literal, physical constraint. You simply have to put the computing power as close as you possibly can to the end user, and a lot of the time that means running it on your own premises. Then you have these totally disconnected places. Imagine a factory floor, a cruise ship out in the middle of the ocean, or maybe a super secure, air-gapped government facility. These places might have spotty internet, or no internet at all. EKS Anywhere is built to run totally independently, making sure your apps keep on working even when the internet doesn't. All right, so let's say you're sold. You've decided EKS Anywhere is the right tool for the job. Now what? Well, you've got some pretty big architectural decisions to make about how you're going to manage your whole fleet of clusters. So you've basically got two main choices here. Over on the left, we have the standalone model. Each cluster is its own little island, managing itself. It's a simpler setup, and it's perfect if you're only running one or two clusters. But on the right, you've got the management cluster model. Here, one dedicated cluster is in charge of creating and managing a whole fleet of other workload clusters. The bottom line here is you've got to pick the right model for how big you plan to get. That standalone approach, it's great for getting started, uses fewer resources, but it gets really hard to automate as you grow. So for 3 or more clusters, AWS strongly recommends the management and workload model. It gives you that central control, much better security isolation, and it makes automating everything so much easier. And this is maybe one of the most important things to remember, no matter where you run Kubernetes. Getting it installed, that's just day one. The real never-ending work is what we call day 2 operations. We're talking monitoring, logging, patching, security scans, all the stuff you need to do to keep things reliable, secure, and cost-effective for the entire life of the application. So as we bring this all together, I want to leave you with this one final thought. It's one thing to get a cluster up and running somewhere, but what's your strategy for managing it tomorrow, and the day after that, and next year? Answering that question, well, that's the real essence of running containers in production.